This video I'll be discussing design briefs, the creation of design briefs and their use. Now a design brief comes quite close to the start of a project, and it probably follows your analysis of your design context or your design situation you've been given by the exam board. Now in a previous video I've talked to you about how to analyse the design context, a slide that looks a little bit like this here, and basically you'll be going through and being given one of these kind of like design context, perhaps by the exam board. It might be something you've developed as a rationale yourself if you're in Key Stage 5, but you've probably gone through this and picked out kind of key sort of areas that are important. Okay, so when you go on to produce your design brief, what you're basically doing is kind of a bit of a statement of intent, what you're planning to do within the project over the course of the year or the couple of years that you're studying design technology. Okay, so what I like to do whenever I start off a project is basically start with sort of this general opening statement, okay, basically saying what it is that you're going to be designing and manufacturing. In the case here, he's designed a piece of jewellery and packaging, and again this relates to kind of the criteria that he's chosen in the context there. Okay, so it's just literally setting the scene with a very clear statement of what you're going to design and what you're going to make or manufacture. Okay, now moving on from this, the clue is in the name, I suppose. It says design brief. Okay, it doesn't say design complex or design lengthy. Therefore, it should be quite brief. It shouldn't be a huge lengthy statement outlining lots and lots of what you're doing, and also it shouldn't be too specific either. Okay, I do get the question asked, how long should it be? And there's no right answer for this, but I wouldn't say longer than about a paragraph or so for your design brief. And you can include, in addition to the brief, some sort of initial design specification criteria or design criteria that you're going to kind of work to or try and aim to achieve within your design project. Now, when you're developing the design brief, I mean, what you should talk about, I think, is referring to what I like to call the 5 W's and the 1 H. Okay, so the 5 W's being who, what, where, when, why, and obviously the H being how. Okay, so if we go through the design brief in that sense, we can talk about who, which is very important. It's our consumer, okay, or it's our client, or it's our target market we're going to be aiming at, okay. And it's very likely that if you've done a consumer profile, you've profiled your consumer and kind of understood a little bit about who your target market is, you're going to be able to talk about who you're designing for in your design brief, and this will be quite important, okay. So in the case here, he's talking about, anthropometric measurements that you might take from an individual consumer if it's sort of a one-off project, okay, but you can also talk about, the styles and things like this that are going to make it suitable for that person as well. Okay, moving on from that, we can talk about what the product obviously is, okay, and what it's going to do, and some of this can be obviously summed up in the initial design criteria that you're producing as well. So what it is you're planning to do, the project. Where could be to do with where the product's going to be used, okay, so it could be an environmental issue in terms of durability or whether it needs finishing and stuff like this, but again, with regarding specifics, we're not going to go into detail of specifics. So I might talk about, it's going to be used outside for a period of time or whatever, in terms of where and when, but I'm not going to be saying it will be made of MDF, it will be finished with polyurethane varnish. I'm just going to keep it quite open because, as I say, it's a design brief, it's not a design complex, okay, so we should keep it quite simple in that sense. Why? Obviously, it's why you're obviously doing it. It could simply be to, cover some of the criteria in the actual context and stuff that you're actually working on there. It could be that you have a more specific aim in mind as to what the product's going to do. And in terms of how, it might be how long you have to work on the project or how you're going to produce the item. But again, not going into specifics. So you shouldn't be at this point dictating exactly what the product is. It should be brief, okay? So that's my guide or some ideas about how to develop your own design brief. Hope that's useful to you.